Yeah, just about as groovy as a 10-cent movie. I'm your man, Calvin Gibbs. You are listening to Drama Talk Radio. As you know, Drama Talk is the show where the word drama, DRAMA, stands for developing real and moving art. We thank you for listening to this podcast today. And I want to introduce you to a gentleman that I consider a good friend. Although we don't speak on a regular basis, we don't see each other on a regular basis, I have nothing but admiration and I give kudos to my guest. His name is Terrence Mardis. He is a native of Chicago who began his career working as an extra in Hollywood films. He's an actor in the theater as well as films. He's been on TV shows, independent films, stage plays. Please help me welcome Terrence Mardis to the show. Welcome, Terrence.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here with us on Drama Talk, and we're going to get right to it. Today's episode is just going to be two guys talking theater. We both have an affinity for theater. I love theater. I know you love theater and have done a lot of work in that area. So let's just start with from the beginning. How did you get introduced, or how did you start in theater?
You know, as a child, I was always the one to try to make my mom laugh, be the entertainer in the family when we'd have family gatherings. And as a child, you don't really know what that's about. You're just a kid acting goofy, right? Well, as I got older, I always pictured myself in front of an invisible audience putting on some type of a show. Still didn't understand what that meant. Took a drama class in grade school, took a drama class in high school. Woke up one morning in 1993 on a hot summer day and just yelled out of a sound sleep, "I want to act." So I went over to a computer and I put in the search engine, casting agencies, and sent a couple of snapshots in, filled out a form, and that just how things kind of got kicked off for me.
Did your mama say, "Boy, you've been acting your whole life. What are you talking about?"
Exactly. Acting like a dang old fool.
That's cool, man. And of course, since that time, you have done a lot of work here in Chicago, as I mentioned. You did a play back in the early 2000s called From Slavery to the White House.
That is correct.
I actually saw that a couple times, and I shouldn't say the early 2000s because this was actually around about 2008?
Oh, later than that. I believe it was like 2012, 2013.
2012, and in it you played President Barack Obama in addition to 12 other roles.
That is correct.
And the play traveled. Tell us about From Slavery to the White House.
I'll tell you, Calvin, first of all, I give credit to Phoenix Tyler. She's the writer and director of that play. She's a very visionary person with a love for her culture, a love for the people. She wanted to put on something that was a teaching moment for people. And being as though it was live theater, it wasn't like going to a movie or seeing it on television. This was up front, up close, and in your face and personal. She wanted it to be a teaching moment. She wanted people to go on an emotional roller coaster ride. And by far, she hit the mark. She hit the bullseye with that one, because I'll tell you, out of all the works I've done, that was probably my most favorite, the most fun, and it was emotionally stirring for me as well, being involved in those roles. It was pretty intense.
How was it traveling with that play to other cities?
Very humbling. You know, we're not on a fancy bus with coach and everything. We're all riding in a minivan. We have trailers transporting the equipment, the luggage, and you know, we're putting on the show. And then after that, members of the audience are offering to put us up in their homes. So there weren't any fancy hotels. It was a very humbling experience, but you know, definitely an ode to our ancestors and what they went through and how humbling those experiences must have been for them as well.
You know, I was listening to you talk about traveling and not having the best accommodations or vehicles for traveling and all, and people volunteering to put you up. It brought to mind the freedom fighters of the civil rights movement.
Oh, yeah.
Who often had to travel by Greyhound bus or Trailways bus, long rides to different destinations. And when they got there, they didn't really have any accommodations. And people would offer to put them up in their houses and all. And that's when you find the strength of people, the love that people have for actors.
Exactly.
And for people that are doing something to uplift others. Now, as actors, I know let me go back and say I know what the play From Slavery to the White House was all about. And it is such an important piece of our history when you think about it.
It is.
Being brought from Africa as kings and queens into this country, stripped of everything that related to us, and then going through the years, hundreds of years, until we finally had a representative in the highest office of this country. Man, that is something.
How sweet is that?
Yes, it is. So how was it, the preparation for you getting into the role of Barack Obama?
First of all, it was an honor to even be considered to play him. And when you see him speak, he's very eloquent. When you see him, he has swag on television. He has charm, charisma. You know, you're talking about a brother that can light up an entire room when it's dark without turning on a light switch. You know, I did a lot of research on him. I saw all types of footage. I literally stood in the mirror practicing his mannerisms, his articulation, his voice pattern. I wanted not only to throw on a suit and be made to look like him, I wanted to sound like him. I wanted to have that swag that he had, his charisma. And what I think the goal that I was trying to achieve is, as I was putting on the show and playing him, if a member of the audience were to close their eyes, they could hear and feel that he was actually there. And I was trying to give them, for people like myself who always wanted to meet him, you know, I wanted to give them that opportunity to say, hey, if this is as close as we can get, I'll take it, because this guy's the real deal. But I definitely wanted to do him the highest honor and portray him as best I can in a positive light. And I think we did all right.
Oh, you did very good, because that's one of the things that I do when I am at a theater or watching a film or a theater production, and the actors are portraying a person of note, someone that we know. I will close my eyes and I will listen. And for both times that I saw that play, I thought you were spot on. Very good job.
Thank you.
It's very similar to watching or listening, closing your eyes and listening to Jamie Foxx portray Brother Ray.
Oh, come on, Calvin. We know.
or listening to Denzel become Malcolm X, man. You can close your eyes and
Oh
you
yeah.
can listen. So there was a point when I actually closed my eyes and Terrence disappeared, and I was listening to Barack Obama. So very good job, man. Very good
Awesome.
job. Very good job on that. And I also give kudos to Phoenix Tyler for writing and producing uh, that play and getting that out there. So we talked, Terrence, about your dramatic role. I know you've done a lot of dramatic roles. Um, you did movies like Love Bones. I'm not familiar with that. Separated at Birth and Holla, If You Hear Me. Were those dramatic um, roles as well?
Um, Love Bones was a dramatic role because the movie was centered around a husband and wife couple. In fact, if you look behind me here, that's the movie poster there.
Okay.
We play a married couple, a husband and a wife who's trying to conceive, and they're having a little bit of difficulty. And for a number of years, the husband thinks it's him, only to find out that his wife was the one that couldn't conceive and had always known that since early childhood.
Mm.
And so there was a bit of turmoil going on between the two, mistrust, anger. So I had to be very emotional, put myself in that position. You know, what would you do if your soulmate, you know, you have these dreams and aspirations of owning a home, great job, great wife, great husband. The only thing missing is the kids. And here you think it's you. And, you know, for a brother to not be able to produce children with his wife can be a little, you know, a little demanding on the psyche. So only to have that brought back to find out your wife was actually the one. Not to say that you would be insensitive towards that, but once you get past all of that deceit, the lies, the, you know, the misconceptions, and can actually take the emotion side of it out and actually be a husband or be a man towards your wife, because now she's going through exactly what you thought you were experiencing or what you felt in the beginning when you thought it was you. So that was a very emotional film. I had to give a lot of emotion into that. Love Bones, I played a detective in that movie. I just had to play a hard-nosed, go by the gut, go by your instincts type of guy. And Holla, If You Hear Me was like a hip-hop horror thriller, so wasn't as dramatic as Love Bones, though.
Okay. Now, here's a question for thought.
Mm-hmm.
As an actor, what's more difficult to you? Dramatic role or comedic role?
That's a very, very, very good question. Both are pretty difficult because with comedic roles you have to have comedic timing. With dramatic roles, you have to lose your inhibition and be able to be open and vulnerable to not just your castmates, but to an audience of people. And I'm going to say the dramatic roles are the most difficult, but to me, they're the most fulfilling and the most exciting. Because if I can give a performance that's emotionally jarring to the audience, if I'm crying on stage and I can get you to feel my pain and you can cry with me, maybe there's an opportunity for me to heal someone in that audience. For
Okay.
me, you know, giving an emotional performance is about healing, not just for the audience, but for self too. Because as an actor, I actually call upon personal experiences to bring about certain emotions. And don't get me wrong, being a comedic actor as well, laughter is good medicine for the soul, you know. But I think in order to be healed, sometimes you have to let go of pain.
True that. True that.
And if I can get people to let go of pain in some kind of way through a dramatic experience, something that they can relate to, I'm hands down. I'm much more. It's much more difficult to put on a dramatic role.
Now, I'm going to beg to differ with you and say that comedy is harder. because I think I know comedy is subjective, and you can have the audience rolling in the aisles laughing on Friday night, but Saturday night you get a different crowd in there, and you're basically at this point doing the same thing you did the night before, but they're not feeling it.
Right.
You might have to throw yourself off the stage to get somebody to laugh, uh, which I actually experienced. We did a spoof of the TV show Good Times.
Okay.
I played James Evans. This is, 25 years ago, with the tight corduroys and the flannel shirt and all,
Okay.
and that Friday night crowd, I guess because they had just got off work, they were rolling, man. We were, the actors, we felt good going into the dressing room, changing for the next scene. But Saturday, man, they were like, make me laugh. And the same things that we had rehearsed and done Friday night wasn't working. And we would go back into the dressing room and we're talking, as we're changing, what the hell's going on? They wasn't feeling it. But that is because humor is subjective. And the folks that was there Friday night got it, or they wanted to get it. Those Saturday night had a chance to rest up, I guess, and they were like, make me laugh. And we, as a result, started pressing for the laugh. And when you start pressing for it, instead of letting it flow naturally, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. So
I can agree.
So yeah, but let's talk about some of the TV shows that you've done. I know that you've done a lot of extra work. Tell us about some of that, some of the extras that you roles that you've done. Especially, have you done any here in Chicago?
Yes, I did extra roles for 3 movies in Chicago. The Negotiator, which starred Samuel L. Jackson. Soul Survivors, which was like a horror thriller type of film, and Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell.
Okay. Yeah, for the Negotiator, I was going to be Samuel L. stand-in, but I couldn't get off work that day.
Hey, that's how it goes, though, right? That's how it goes.
So in the last 20 years, I'd say Chicago has become a mecca, if you will, for TV filming.
Yes, it has.
And what do you contribute any of that explosion to?
Well, as I said several years ago, a lot of films couldn't or didn't want to come to Chicago because the tax rates were so ridiculous. And I believe it was Mayor Daley who, at the time, lifted the taxes on allowing films to come here and film and use our skyline and our city and things like that as a way of promoting our city and bringing in revenue. I think that because of that, a lot of films and a lot of television shows have really started to see that as an opportunity because we have a beautiful city, and even movies that are supposed to be based in New York. I've seen movies come and they filmed in Chicago, but they take place in New York.
Yeah.
So there's something about our city. I can't, other than it's a beautiful city. The people are beautiful. If you can get beyond what you hear in the news and television, there are actually some good people in some good parts of Chicago. But I think it's a lot less, to do with the high tax rates that they were paying to come film these movies and television shows in Chicago. Ever since that got lifted, I saw the floodgates just open.
Yeah. And I know what you mean about a film taking place supposedly in New York and was actually filmed in Chicago. My wife and I, in the last few months, we binge watched the entire series of, oh my God, with Terrence Howard and Taraji.
Empire.
Yep. And that was supposed to have taken place in New York. And we kept seeing sights of Chicago in it.
Exactly. Yep.
And that lets you know things have changed, because at one point it was, if you wanted to do a TV show, it was either New York or Los Angeles. California or New York was those prime locations. So Chicago's getting its play, and I think it's about time that it did as well. Now, Terrence, I can't let you go without talking about the current state of theater, the current state of film in this COVID environment.
Mm-hmm.
Not being able to, theater houses are closed. Hell, Broadway's closed until 2021. For me,
Mm-hmm.
that's when this all became real. When I saw the news that day that said Broadway is shut down until 2021, I was like, oh my God, this is the end. This is real. But how do you think we're progressing through this COVID pandemic environment that we are currently in?
It's so difficult because when you're making a movie, obviously there's a lot involved, a lot that goes into it. You're scouting out locations, and in this case, a lot of locations are closed. You're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis in close proximity. Now with social distancing, that makes it nearly impossible. I think it's become really, really difficult for filmmakers. But when you talk about theater and doing stage plays, you have platforms. For instance, Phoenix Tyler gave me a call in April and said that she was putting on a series of virtual plays, if you can believe that. And I thought, wow, how's that going to work? And we're not on a stage, or, we're not on a set. She goes, no, we're just going to get together, a group of actors. We're going to put on various skits via Zoom. And I thought, wow, that's different. Has that ever been done before? She says, no, not to my knowledge. So she became the pioneer, the first person to actually put on virtual plays. And what her idea was, she wrote a series of 10 short plays, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes max. And she would put on 2 plays a week on Tuesdays and Thursday nights for the next 5 weeks. So all throughout May and the first week or so of June. And I was slated to do a few of those, but I could only commit to 2. But I tell you, it was different, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, there's nothing beats walking out on a wooden floor from behind that red velvet curtain, looking out into a sea of people and getting that instant gratification from the audience, feeding off of each other's energy. But with the virtual plays, they're much shorter. People don't have to pay to get in. You get a meeting ID and a password, and you sit in the comfort of your own home. And if you want to see a particular subject matter, you tune in on a particular day. If you want to laugh, you tune in on a particular day and just sit there. And we're all on our social media every day. I mean, we spend the majority of our day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, looking things up on the internet. Why not spend 10 to 20 minutes watching a virtual stage play? I thought it was different, and I kind of think that if there's a lot more success with it, that's kind of where it's going to be headed in the future. Film is a totally different beast, though. There's no way around that. You just got to maybe quarantine people for a period of time, and once they get the confirmation that they're negative, then those group of people can get together and film a movie. And it's a lot that's going to have to go into that, just to make sure that people are safe and COVID free. But it's going to be difficult for the next couple of years for sure.
That's going to make the budgets for those films go up as well.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. When you talk about theater, there's a connection that has to happen between the actor on stage and the people in the audience. In this virtual world, that connection is not the same, obviously. It's not
at all.
It's not the same. And I have seen several virtual productions being done, and I didn't feel the connection. So I think that we are going to see an opportunity for theatrical training via virtual environments, because the actors need to learn how to make a different connection.
That is true.
You know, I actually saw a stage reading Friday night, and I'm going to speak to the playwright later on this evening for another episode of Drama Talk. But it was so interesting. It had to deal with black and white love relationship, man and woman, and the actors was so spot on. It was almost like watching a theatrical production. I started feeling the actors. I started caring about the actors. And I was like, what happened? Oh, I just made a connection. You know, I actually wanted to hear more. And I want to find out how she prepared her actors for this type of thing, because I know as an actor myself, I think it would be very hard for me to connect with the skill set that I have to an audience that's virtual.
It would be very difficult. And you know, Calvin, I'll say this because you brought up a very, very good point. It's a whole different way of acting. You are in the comfort of your own home for most of us, and you tend to get a little lax. Now, when I did my performances for Phoenix Tyler, I was pretty consistent in how I prepared for my role, whether it was live performance, whether it was film. I gave that same energy, that same desire to do character development and research. But what I found most difficult was I realized that I had to do a lot more facial expressions, a lot less body movement, a lot more facial expressions to convey what it is that my actor was trying to convey, because you only have a limited space to move in. You're in front of a camera, and like you said, you're not live, so people are looking and listening in. But figuring out a way to connect to that audience, like you said, that's got to be an important factor for a success of a play like that.
Well, maybe that'll be theater 2.0. We will learn how to do this, and so that we can continue in our crafts going forward. They say that once we come out of this pandemic, things are going to change. Things won't be the same. Maybe that's one of the things that's going to change.
At least we'll have an alternative.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, Terrence, if anyone in the audience listening audience wants to contact you, can you give us some links to a website, anything for you?
I have the typical Facebook. I'm at Terrence Mardis on Facebook. My Instagram is T Mardy. That's TEMARD as in David I. And Twitter is just basic at Terrence Mardis. I'm on all those 3 platforms, and I do respond to people. I'm not like those other celebrities out there that, get thousands of people reaching out, but I do respond to people, but I'm available on those media accounts.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Terrence, for being on Drama Talk Radio. From drama to comedy, suspense thrillers to romance, Terrence Mardis is a true entertainer. And that's about all, y'all, for this episode of Drama Talk Radio. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. Again, I want to thank my guest, Terrence Mardis. Terrence, please come back when you have something going on in the future.
I certainly will. And thank you for having me again. It's been a long time, and good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. And it's always important that we take 2 steps to the rear and get on out of here. Until the next time, exit stage left.